All right, we are live. It's December 2018, hanging out with Seth. How's it going?
It's good, man. How are you? You've been
Live,
on a hell of an adventure since the last time we spoke.
hanging out. Oh, I know. It's just been insane. Really, just pretty crappy 2 months. Thought about writing a post of the whole thing. But it would just be. I don't know how much fun it would be. It might be fun to read just for people to. I don't know. Sometimes it's fun to read about somebody's terrible misfortunes or whatever. Sometimes.
Oh man,
So
dude, it's been a hell of a ride for you, dude.
yeah, definitely. Well, as you can see, I'm in Phoenix at my parents' house. But I mean, it's kind of the time of year when I would be here anyway.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so at least that. But I've been here for 3 weeks already.
Yeah, I've been following your golf adventures via Instagram and
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah, so that was I've long fantasized about doing a sort of golf experiment because it's been proven that I'm not talented at golf. Um, because I practiced all the time. I played on my high school team. I chose my first college based on the fact that I thought I could try out and make the golf team, but I had no chance because
Wow,
I was
I
not
had no
very good.
idea.
Yeah, I was a very, very avid golfer. And then when I moved to California, um, 2005, I pretty much stopped playing golf then because golf is super expensive in places like California.
Sure,
Didn't really fit
sure.
my car-free lifestyle, etc. And so now, since then, I've played like maybe once a year or something.
Yeah,
So I've thought like, oh, wouldn't it be cool? Because I've learned so much about learning and deliberate practice. Um, wouldn't it be cool to see if I could actually get good at golf? Like if I really tried. So that was a thing that I often sort of fantasized about doing, but it was like I would brainstorm like, well, I guess I could go like live with my parents for a month, um,
yeah.
and they live on a
I'm
golf
sure there's a ton of
course.
golf down there.
Yeah, well, they like live. Their neighborhood has a golf course. It's a retirement community, and there's a golf course on the premises, and there's pretty good practice facilities here, which doesn't really cost a lot. And so, lo and behold, the opportunity presented itself to try it out a little bit. So I just sort of wanted to do a proof of concept of like, what would that look like? How much would that cost? How long would I need to reach what goal?
Yeah,
And would I even enjoy playing that much golf anymore?
this is like the 4 Hour Chef applied to golf, like that
Yeah,
kind of idea.
exactly. Exactly.
Oh, you there, David? Did I lose you, David?
So I got kicked out for a second.
Uh,
Yeah,
okay.
what happened again? I'm using Brave finally is like full Chrome, so I'm using Brave, and I don't know if that has something to do with that. Anyway, so yeah, I wanted to just kind of do a proof of concept. So I did take some time to kind of dabble and how good am I right now? Yeah,
Right.
I like how long would it take to get my blisters back up, to
Yeah.
get the strength back, the stamina back to
Right.
even hit that many balls and do that much practicing and stuff. So it's good. I feel like I got it out of my system.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's been like a nice little like off the radar, not related to anything else project in the midst of all the ups and downs and moves and everything else.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so uh, just trying to find, oh, what sort of opportunities are presented by this huge calamity and mess of like having my
Right.
visa rejected, having to leave Colombia, etc. So that was one of the things. Another one that I was going for was I really like float tanks. I really like doing sensory deprivation tanks.
Yeah.
And so there's one in the area, and I tried to go, or I went, and I was like I was all excited. I'm like, I'm gonna do a 30-day unlimited float package, and I would go every day, and then I'll blog about, what it was like to float every day for 30 days. And but then I finished my float and I went out to pay for my unlimited month package, and the employee was like, "Oh, it's like a 2-month minimum." And I'm like, "Well, but that's what the other employee told me." And it was just one of these annoying situations where you're dealing with somebody who's like following protocol, and the protocol makes no sense in this context at all. And that if you were talking to a business person with any agency or sense, that they would be like, "Oh, you're only here for a month and you want to do a month unlimited. Okay, we'll just do that.
Oh, you want to pay me? Yeah, let's do it.
You want to give me money for the services that I provide."
So novel.
And well, but she was like, "Well, you could do 1 a month unlimited, and then the second month could be just the one." We're like, "Well, I'm only here for one. I'm not gonna. Why would I? What sane person would pay for an extra, like, just to follow your nonsense,
your arbitrary rule?"
Yeah, like. So that's, by the way, I don't know if you've ever done a float before, but like, that's not the type of conversation you want to have, like, after you get out of a float tank, because
that's like the antithesis of the whole point, I feel like.
Yeah, the afterward experience is part of it, is like re-immersing yourself back into the civilization and stuff. So it was just a very like rude awakening, and just gave me a bad taste in my mouth, and just
you got slapped with stupidity like right out of you.
I didn't follow up on. They called me, left a message, like a very vague message on my voicemail, but I just, at that point, I had already decided that I wasn't going to deal with them.
That sufficiently soured soured it for you.
Yeah, forget it. So, but I have been using it to, I guess, I've been doing a lot of house cleaning, getting a lot of stuff organized, cutting stuff out of my business.
Like, what's an example of that?
Yeah, so as you probably know, I kind of built up my business on some passive revenue streams. And so I've been cutting out some of those things. And also, like, I don't know if you're like me, but I've had like dozens of domains where you buy it and you think you're going to do something with it.
Yeah.
And then you never do. And you think, well, maybe somebody will offer me money for it and I'll sell it someday. And so I've just been like turning off auto renew on all of those. And then also the very first passive revenue stream that I ever had was about transferring your iTunes library. My first good one was like transfer iTunes library thing. And so I set up this whole microsite with affiliate software on it. I made as much as like $2,500 a month off that site.
Wow.
And I was just evaluating things, and I realized, well, I've made like $150 this year on that site. And it didn't cost me a lot. It didn't take up a lot of my time.
Yeah.
But I decided that it's probably best to just cut it out. I'm trying to fight
mental space.
Yeah, because it's like clearly not. And even when I think about, I dabbled with trying to sell it. And even when I think about that, I'm like, well, selling websites and like doing all the due diligence and stuff you have to do that's not a skill that I want to build and use in the future. So if I sell this thing for $1,000, I just spend a bunch of time doing something that I don't care to ever do again.
Right. For what, $1,000, one off?
Yeah. So that's just one example. I'm trying to build up to where I would kill Russ Ruggles, the online dating advice blog.
Yeah, I remember. I only reason I knew about that is because I think you mentioned it in here, and I think I saw like in your when we were talking about Amazon that one time. I think I saw like one of your ebooks on there, and I like, and I think I think I was like, oh, that's probably that dating thing he's talked about, and I just like punched it in real quick, and there you were.
Yeah, exactly. That was my test KDP book. The first KDP book that I ever published was just I took a blog post from this alter ego and
Right.
made a 500 word Kindle book and uploaded it, and then played with it a little bit, ran some ads for it and stuff, and then like promptly deleted it. But then it's always in your dashboard.
That was the little like the little clue of who David's dating profile identity was.
I mean, I've mentioned it. I've like blogged about it. I've linked to it. In an attempt.
I never saw any of that. I just like heard you like mention it like one time, and I was like, oh, that's funny.
Okay. Yeah, I linked to it in my income reports and stuff, and that's made about $500 over the last year. I made about $150,000 lifetime on that.
Wow.
Yeah. So
pretty good. Nothing to sneeze at.
It's hard to say goodbye to yesterday. Like
right.
That's one that I'm just trying to build up the courage to delete, but it's good. I've been cleaning that up. I have a security podcast coming out soon, where with a security expert, and we talked about a lot of different things to
like cybersecurity, like personal data, like what do we
just buttoning up your passwords and like which accounts to use like maximum security on, and like different buckets that way, and like how to use two-factor authentication, and how to make sure that even if you lose your phone, you still are able to get into your system and stuff. And so based on that conversation, I've been doing a lot of buttoning up my security as well. So
that was a guy you had him on your podcast. Is it similar to that podcast episode?
This isn't going to be a new one. This one's coming out on the 3rd, and it's specifically about personal digital security.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of that, and then like organize as I'm like cutting out. It's a good time of year to do this stuff, cutting out different parts of the business.
Yeah.
I have been freed up a bunch of space on my hard drive, and then I was cleaning the screen on my laptop. And I was like, what? It's just getting worse. Like, what is happening? And so I just like start really buffing it, and I realized like the anti-glare coating was coming off my laptop screen.
Scrubbing it so vigorously, it's like peeling layers off.
Yeah, and so I do some Googling, like, I use a little rubbing alcohol on it. Like, I've always done that. Is that bad? Yeah. Like, and so I find out that apparently the MacBooks from 2012 to 2015 have this known issue.
Oh,
where
I had a MacBook from that time.
The MacBook Pros, actually, yeah. And so Apple's had this program for a while now where they're replacing these screens.
Huh.
And so I'm like, based on the data I see, it's like I kind of lost my I'm outside the window, like I can't get it replaced. But then I went to the Apple store and everything, and they were like, oh yeah, you're actually December 28th would have been the last day that you would be eligible.
Oh, well, there you go.
4 years. I got my computer 4 years ago.
Good timing.
Yeah, and also it's not a bad time of year to be without your computer. So they were just like, oh, you can buy another computer and just return it, while yours is being repaired. So I'm on like this computer that I bought yesterday.
There you go. It's amazing what a quick Google search you can just like uncover, like, oh, I can get this.
Well, yeah, it's like I don't know. I looked at the receipt for the repair. It would have been $470. And so hopefully I'll get my computer back in time to get get back up and running soon. But
Cool.
it's interesting how quickly you can get back up and running when you have stuff on the cloud, with a lot of stuff. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Sure.
what's new with you after my life story?
The life story. Things are good, man. I'm sitting at work, so I'm gonna drop my voice a little bit.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
But I was actually interviewing recently for a role with Ramit Sethi's company, actually.
Oh, that's great. Cool.
And I got to the final round, and they ended up going a different direction. So I was like that close to it. But I actually I kind of heard through the grapevine, because I know a lot of people that have either worked for him or have worked for him.
Yeah.
And apparently they just let go of like a ton of people.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and so it was kind of like one of those things where I was like, what everyone said is like I would have been on the product team, like building the products, like a product developer. And they were like, well, the good news is that's the absolute last part of the team that would ever go anywhere, because like that's the entire business. Like, yeah, he's not going to go back to building courses all day, you know? So I was actually really close on that. And then it ended up not working out, which is fine. It was definitely something that, like, I think there's like this funny thing in this like world of like, I feel like I always see this with entrepreneurs that built their business like just themselves up to like a large team, where there's this thing where like they always want you to do like a project and you're not compensated for it, but it's not necessarily an insignificant project. Like I had to put together like several pages of like course copy, like writing out like a course material, and then like also like put together like a page of sales copy and stuff. And like, but it was supposed to be like, you know, I'm not going to just like slop copy down. So I did all this like research and everything. I probably ended up spending like 16 hours working on this thing. I spent a lot of time on it. And so like, it was a little just like at the end of it, it's just like, that was annoying, but yeah, it's like, I can't say I didn't take a full swing at it, but it was close. So, you know.
Yeah, I know. I guess what I've heard they say that they do at Basecamp is they like hire you for a week-long project.
Yeah, I've heard him say that too.
Yeah. Well, the next thing you know, like Ramit's gonna have this new course, and it's whatever the hell you were just working on.
Oh, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at all if that was the case, because, I mean, it was actually really interesting to kind of have that like behind the scenes look. Because I was like interviewing with Lars, who's like director of growth and product and everything. I was like talking with Lars, and I actually just did a beta program with him about like SEO, like how to like put together like an SEO strategy, because I know very little about it. So like I've actually been like starting to kind of like, you know, it's just I looked at it as like, oh, it'd be interesting to learn. And also it's like I can build my own site up, and it's like another skill, like kind of like add to the stack, you know. And so I was doing that with them. And so I ended up like, it was like coaching with his team member Lars, who's like in charge of his like growth and everything. And so it was really interesting to learn kind of some of like the behind the scenes of it and everything. It definitely made me look at it in a completely different way, just like seeing how they go about like building their business and just some of like, his big thing is like ZTL is kind of like the really big thing for them in the last like few years. And it's like really interesting that that aspect of their business is like just not nearly as strong as it once was. I don't think, like, you know, it's just like online courses just aren't as like, they just don't pop like they used to.
Well, I don't know if you saw that, what's his name?
Derek Halpern. Yeah.
Yeah, he quit his online courses. Yeah.
I saw that, but it's something that like, it was just really interesting to see and like kind of like talk to the product developers, because I was like, one of the things I kept asking, I was talking to them, was just like, you know, what have you guys been doing differently, knowing just how much more competitive like the online education space is and how different it is. And what was really striking is that like none of them really had an answer. Like it was really interesting just to see how like, you know, it kind of made me like look at it as like, yeah, maybe yeah, not everyone has it all figured out. You know, it was like an interesting, not like in like a negative way or anything, but it was just interesting to look at it from the perspective of like oh, like what are you guys like? How are you guys adapting? Like how do you think about that? Do you think about it? And it was funny. One of the guys was just like, well, I think we just focus on keep building great products and things. I was like, oh yeah, that's a good answer, but if people aren't, there's like a disconnect.
I mean, you would think that they would have some idea of like, oh yeah, like this has gotten competitive because this player, and
yeah, it was really interesting. And I'm sure they like do competitive. I'm sure they do all this stuff. I'm sure it's not like totally. They're not like about. Like, I know they're not. But
or are they being secretive about it because they're worried that you're a spy?
I'm not a spy, but maybe they were. Who knows? But it was really interesting. So I enjoy going through the process. Like it was definitely a little like any of those kind of processes. It's definitely like a little frustrating the way it like ended, because it's just like, hey, thanks, but no thanks, bye. And it was like no, like it was very just like, we've decided to go another direction. Thank you for doing the project, but we, yeah. And it was just like done. Like no more communication. No like, hey, like thanks for doing this. Like I know you spent a lot of time on it. Like appreciate it.
Yeah.
It was like, which I think definitely gave me a little sense of like how maybe that culture, that company culture operates and things.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's
I don't know if you've ever read the Glassdoor reviews.
I have.
Of the company. Okay.
I have.
Maybe it was you that told me that. I can't remember who. I don't even know how I even saw that, but it didn't. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to tell with employers what.
Yeah, especially anonymous reviews and things.
It's always this relationship where like I don't know, where people are going to be feel that they're entitled to something that maybe they're not sometimes.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell. I don't really know. That's interesting though. Yeah, actually, now that we were talking about, I was just talking about killing stuff. I've even entertained the idea of killing my courses.
Have you found? I only have like I have like 10, 15 minutes left, just FYI on time. Then I gotta run something else. But like, so I'm sitting here at work. But yeah, like what's been kind of prompting that, and from your perspective, like, is it just not interested in them anymore? Or they just don't really like.
No, I'm just trying to think about. Well, okay, it's actually specifically this idea of the difference between.
Actually, sorry, Dave, real quick. I have like 5 minutes. I just got a thing pop up that says it's about to auto restart on me. So.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Just if I disappear, that's why.
I'm just thinking about ways to overcome like my perceiver personality type, which is such that like I always want there to be possibilities. I don't want to close any doors.
Yeah.
And so because of that, you can just start to gain in complexity to your detriment. And so it has made me think about like, well, I could probably focus on writing books and learning about the book business and learning about how to market books and do the podcast as well as part of the process and be okay.
Right.
And if I were just focusing on that, and so it is just the thought about like, well, how much headspace does working on the courses take up for me? I think we'll see. I mean, I still have these Hangouts, which, people don't even go to, but I've promised them, and I'm kind of trying to figure out how to handle that.
Yeah.
And so I don't know whether that is start offering it to the Blog to Bling students as well. Maybe I should continue to work on Blog to Bling a little bit, or at least leave it open. I mean, this is also open to Patreon backers.
Yeah.
So it's an hour a month. It's not like a huge commitment, but it's one element of like the course ecosystem. As I evaluate things, I think about, can I kill that? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I've always thought it was really surprising how few people come to these. Like I always thought it was so surprising, like, especially like people that are podcast listeners and things like that are, like
they're paying for it, like
yeah,
on a
like
monthly basis.
yeah, it's I always thought it was interesting, but like I mean I've even thought about for my own like site that's because like I treat that more as like a sandbox than I do like a business, like I don't really think about it as like, oh, this is my business. I mean, yeah, it is like a little business. I mean, it does make money and I do, but like it's one of those things like I only make money when I'm actively doing stuff, which is why I'm trying to learn SEO. It's like it's kind of like this thing where it's like, if I spend X amount of time a month like building these posts, I can get more people here and it can kind of like fill up the like funnel, if you will. It's that's great, but like part of me, like the thing that I really love doing is like I just love like working with people, like doing like the coaching and talking about stuff with them. So I think what I'm gonna do or test out in the new year is like I just did a course. I put together the course for several months. I thought it was really good. And it did fine at the launch. Like I probably made like $1,000 on it, nothing like crazy, but like part of me is just kicking around the idea of like, why don't I just open up like a mastermind and just make like a Google form? Like, hey, if you're interested in doing this, apply here. Have like 3 questions you ask people, like, why do you want to do this? Would you be willing to pay XYZ dollars a month or a session or whatever it is? And just see if people sign up. And like, because that's something like if I could do it, get 5 people on a call like once every 2 weeks or something, and each of them pays $50 a pop or whatever, like that's already like way more money than I'm making on like these one-off course launches and things. So I've been kicking that stuff around too, man. But
it's interesting. That might work. And I've considered stuff like that as well. But then as I do my evaluation, I'm also thinking like, what are the activities that I want to do all day?
Yeah.
And I do enjoy the Hangouts. I have enjoyed doing masterminds or small group classes before, but it's also just like I still get to have like nice conversations doing my podcast. And if I were to simplify things, I don't know. It's still a lot to think about. It's not something I expect to find a solution for right away. It's one of these things I just try to make a habit of thinking about. By the way, before you go, I might actually be in Medellin in February when you're here.
I was literally just about to mention that before I left. So I'm getting there on the 2nd, I think, and then I'm going to leave the 8th. So it's basically that first week. It's getting it on that. I think it's that Saturday, the first Saturday, and leaving the following Friday. So I'm literally about to get booted off here, but I'm going to try to join the January. I'd love to chat more about that, but unfortunately, my computer's about to kill me or kill this combo. So,
yeah.
But it's good catching up, man. I'll definitely try to make the next one so we can chat more. I love to get your and there it goes.
What? Huh? You gone? Bye. All right. Well, I'll stop the broadcast. If somebody comes back, I'll start it over. I don't know if it's going to be the same recording. I don't know how that works. Anyway.